It's 6:14 on a Tuesday morning, and you are pouring cereal into a chipped bowl when the man in the gray suit sits down across from you in a diner you've eaten at 100 times. You've never seen him before. He doesn't order. He slides a photograph across the table, and it's your face. Except it isn't, because the man in the photo is shaking hands with a foreign minister on a tarmac you have never stood on. You look at the photo. You look at him. He says your name, your full name, the one even your landlord gets wrong, and he says it like he's known it for years. You ask who he is. He tells you it doesn't matter who he is. What matters is who you are about to become. You almost laugh. You almost stand up and leave. But there is something in the flatness of his voice that pins you to the vinyl seat, and you realize that some part of you has been waiting your whole forgettable life for a stranger to tell you that you matter. 3 weeks later, you sign your old self away in a room with no windows. They don't call it a body double. The word they use is continuity asset. You learn the language the way you learn everything in the program, fast and without comfort, because the alternative to learning is being sent home, and there is no home anymore. The lease is gone. The job is gone. The version of you that existed before the diner has been quietly erased, your absence explained by a story you will never get to read. You are told that grief, if anyone feels it for you, will be shallow and brief. Nobody mourns a man who was always meant to disappear. The face comes first. It takes 4 surgeries to bring your cheekbones up and your jaw forward, to thin the bridge of your left eyelid so it matches the asymmetry of his. You stop recognizing yourself in the recovery mirror somewhere around the second operation, and the strange thing is that it doesn't frighten you the way it should. The strange thing is the relief. There was never much to lose in that old face. This one, the one healing under the bandages, belongs to the most powerful man on earth. Then comes the voice. You spend 10 hours a day with a speech coach who has you read his old speeches until the cadence lives in your throat. He has a way of landing on the second syllable of a word, a little downward push, and you chase it for weeks until one afternoon you say a sentence aloud and the coach goes silent and just looks at you. You hear it too. It isn't an impression anymore. It's him coming out of your mouth, and the back of your neck goes cold. They teach you the way he walks, the slight favoring of the right knee from an old injury you now pretend to have. They teach you the way he holds a pen, the way he laughs one beat too late at jokes, the way he touches the knot of his tie when he's buying time. You memorize the names of his children and the dog that died when he was governor. You learn the scar tissue of his marriage, the private nickname his wife uses, the exact degree of warmth to put in your eyes when she enters a room, because she is one of the very few people who could expose you with a single doubting glance, and she must never, ever doubt. You are not told everything. You learn that early. You are given the shape of the man and trusted with none of his secrets, and the first time you understand the difference is the night they wake you at 3 in the morning and tell you that you are flying to a country whose name you are not allowed to repeat. The first job is small. That's how they ease you in. He has a cold, the real one, the president, and there is a photo opportunity on the South Lawn that cannot be canceled without feeding a rumor about his health. So you stand at a podium for 90 seconds and wave to a crowd that has no idea, and you say 11 words and walk back inside. 11 words. Your heart is going so hard you can feel it in your teeth. And the door closes behind you and the handler nods once, and you feel a rush so clean and so total that you understand right then that you will never be able to go back to pouring cereal in a diner. Some doors only open one way. They pay you, and the number is obscene. $400,000 for 90 seconds and 11 words, wired to an account under a name that is now legally yours. A name you didn't choose and answer to anyway. You don't spend it. There is nothing you want that the money can buy, because the only thing you want now is the next 90 seconds, the next podium, the next crowd believing in a man who was actually you. The jobs get bigger. You ride in the motorcade through a city where someone has promised, in an intercepted message, to put a round through the president's skull. The real president is asleep in the residence. You are the one in the back of the limousine, smiling through inch-thick glass at people who would kill you if they knew the truth and would kill you anyway if they didn't. You learn that the fear has a flavor and that you can function right through it, that you can wave and smile while a sniper you cannot see decides whether today is the day. Nothing happens. It usually doesn't. But the not happening teaches you something about yourself you would rather not know, which is that you are willing. You are willing to be the bullet's destination so that another man can sleep. You start to understand the hierarchy you've entered. There are others like you. You're not supposed to know this, but you piece it together from a half-heard conversation and a face in a hallway that should not exist. There is a man who does the European appearances, taller, better with languages. There is a woman, you realize with a jolt, who handles the First Lady's continuity. You are all kept apart, never briefed on each other, because a network of doubles who know each other is a network that could compare notes, and notes are leverage, and leverage is the one thing they cannot allow to pool in hands like yours. You learn where you sit in the stack. Above you is the handler who wakes you. Above the handler is a man you've met exactly once, a man with a soft voice and dead eyes who runs what they call the office. And above the office is a name nobody says, a level of the government that has no building and no budget and no oversight, a permanent thing that outlasts every administration because it was never elected and can never be voted out. You begin to suspect that the president himself, the real one, does not fully command the apparatus that protects him. You begin to suspect that the apparatus commands him, and you begin to suspect somewhere cold and quiet inside you that nobody is really in charge at all, that the whole towering machine is just men like you doing what they're told and never asking who told the men above them. You meet the president once. It is the only time and it lasts under a minute. They bring you into a room and there he is, the original. And looking at him is the strangest experience of your life, because it is like looking into a mirror that is slightly out of sync. He studies you the way a man studies a tumor on a scan, with a clinical dread he is trying to hide. He shakes your hand and his palm is dry, and his grip is exactly as firm as yours. Of course it is. You trained for months to match it. He says, "Thank you for your service," in the voice you now own. And you say nothing, because you've been instructed to say nothing. And then they take him out one door and you out another, and you never see him alive again. That last part you don't know yet. That part is still months away. The work changes you in ways you can't measure from the inside. You catch yourself alone in the safe house, holding a pen the way he holds it. You dream in his cadence. You wake up and for a long floating moment you don't remember which man you're supposed to be. And the moment stretches a little longer each week. The handler notices. They have psychologists for this, for the dissolving, and you sit across from one twice a month and lie about how solid you feel, because you understand that a double who is coming apart is a double who gets retired, and you have started to suspect that retired is not a word about pensions. The money keeps coming. You are worth, by now, more than you can spend in 3 lifetimes. And it means nothing. It is just a number that proves you are still useful. You measure your worth in appearances. You measure it in the seconds you survive in the open. You are, you realize one night, the most expensive man alive who legally does not exist, and there is no record anywhere that you ever born or ever died, and the only proof of your life is a face that belongs to somebody else. Then comes the night everything changes. The phone rings once. You already know it's the handler because no one else has this number, and you answer it, and his voice is wrong, stripped of his usual flatness, and he says 4 words you have never heard him say. He says, "We have a situation." The real president is dead. It is not on the news. It will not be on the news for a long time, perhaps never in the way it actually happened, and they tell you the shape of it. A heart, they say. Quiet, they say. In the residence, in the dark, no warning. The most protected man on the planet,
undone by the one assassin no detail of security can stop. There is a body. There is, somewhere in a cold room, the original of the face you wear. And there is you. You understand the situation before the handler finishes explaining it, because you have understood for some time that you were never insurance against a bullet. You were insurance against a vacuum. A nation does not get to be without its president, not even for the hours it would take to manage a clean transition, not in a world where weakness is measured in seconds and rivals are watching every flicker. They do not need a double to take a hit anymore. They need a double to take the office. They need you to be him, not for 90 seconds, not for a motorcade, for good. You sit in the dark of the safe house with the phone against your ear, and you feel the walls of your life close gently, finally, completely. There is a briefing tomorrow you are expected to give.
There is a wife who will look into your eyes across a breakfast table and must never doubt. And you wonder if she already knows, if she has always known, if grief is a thing they will allow her or a thing they will manage. There are decisions waiting on a desk in an oval room, real decisions with real countries and real lives behind them, and the men who run the office will tell you which way to lean, and you will lean because you have never once been allowed to choose. You ask the handler the only question that matters. You ask him what happens if you say no. The line is quiet for a long moment. He doesn't threaten you. He doesn't have to. He just says in that flat voice that has come back to him, "There is no version of this where you go home." And you understand that he is right, that there was never a home to go to, that the man who poured cereal in a diner was erased so thoroughly that even you can barely remember the weight of him. You cannot quit because quitting would require there to be someone else for you to become, and there isn't. There is only the face in the mirror. There is only him. There is only the office, and the long ladder of men above you who never gave you their names. So you say yes. Of course you say yes. You were always going to say yes, from the moment a stranger slid a photograph across a diner table and told you that you mattered. The next morning you stand in front of the mirror and you tie the knot of your tie and you touch it once, exactly the way he did when he was buying time. You look at the man looking back at you and you can no longer find the seam between you, the place where you end and he begins. There is no seam. There is only a president and a country that needs him, and a small voice somewhere deep beneath the surgery and the cadence and the obscene, untouchable money, a voice asking the question you will never be allowed to answer out loud. If the real one is dead and no one knows, and you give the speeches and sign the orders and kiss the wife and command the most powerful nation on earth, then who exactly is running the country? You don't know. You suspect you never will. The car is waiting outside. The handler is at the door. Somewhere in a cold room there is a body with your face, and somewhere above the office there is a name nobody says, and somewhere a nation is waking up with no idea that the man it trusts with everything was, 3 years ago, nobody at all. You straighten your tie, you square your shoulders the way he taught you, the way you taught yourself, the way the two of you have become one indivisible thing, and you walk out to run the world.